Today we're going to talk about populations. Hello, Harley. Today we're going to be talking about populations. So, what is a population? Who can remind me and the class what populations are? Here we have a population of wolves. They're a group of organisms of the same species, a group of animals. Okay. Yeah. They're a group of animals of the same species. Correct. And they're all living in the same area. A group of organisms. Okay. Yeah, remember, populations, they're a group of the same species of animals. All right, if you have any personal messages, go ahead and make sure you just send those and don't use the group chat for that. Let's stay on task, guys. All right. I saw some people had some questions for me, but okay, Bradley, that's fine. Follow along with me today, and then once I get everyone working, we can chat and talk a little bit, okay? All right, awesome. All right, so class, as a refresher from earlier in the week, we have this picture of succession occurring. Which area shows the climax community of secondary succession? Now remember, climax means the maximum, the height, the epitome of an ecosystem. All right? In this case, it's asking you which is the climax community of secondary succession. Now, why does succession occur? When does succession occur, class? After what? Okay. A fire or hurricane, reproduction, extinction. Clear cutting. Do we see an example of an event that leads to succession here? There's a fire, yeah. So a fire is a disturbance that leads to succession. But so is that hurricane. What else? Clear cutting, for sure. Now, all these things lead to secondary succession. But what about primary succession? What type of disturbance leads to primary succession? Typically a natural disaster or a human caused one. Yes, Emma, exactly. Volcanic eruptions lead to primary succession. Now, what's the difference between primary succession and secondary succession? Well, after this fire, there's a lot of soil still. But after a volcanic eruption, there's typically no soil, right? There's typically just bare rock. And we see that after volcanic eruptions, but we also see it after glaciers. So when glaciers are building, they get pushed down the mountain. They scrape away all the soil, plant life, and any animals that are there. But that takes a long time. It takes hundreds, even thousands of years. And then once temperatures start to warm up, the glacier slowly melts over time, and all that's left is that bare rock. And so primary succession can occur after we had that glacier receding, when nothing's left but that bare rock. So in this question, it's asking, what's the climax community of secondary succession? Secondary succession. So secondary succession is after a disturbance, and we see a fire here, which is our disturbance. So, does anyone want to change their answer? What's the climax community after secondary succession? Remember, climax, what does climax mean? Climax means the What do you see in B? Have the peak growth, the ultimate growth. You'll see things like old growth forests in a climax community where there's a lot of biodiversity. Do we see a lot of biodiversity in B? Emma says it's just bare trees, right? It's just dead things, dead plants. Does that show a maximum amount of biodiversity? It doesn't, you're right. Which one shows the maximum amount of biodiversity? Where we have like an old growth forest. D, yes. D, because we actually see these fixed. We see these evergreen trees. They're typically the longest lived trees, longest-lived trees, and they reach up to the very maximum height in the canopy. And then you have organisms that live in the upper canopy, but you also have organisms living in different places in that canopy. And we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get into rainforests. But every part of the canopy has a different ecosystem within these, rainforests, within these forest ecosystems, as long as they're the climax of that landscape. And temperatures can vary by as much as 10 degrees from the top to the bottom of the forest canopy. So there is a ton of biodiversity in these climax communities. So you're correct. D is the climax community after secondary succession. It might be A, it might be. I mean, it looks like it, but I wouldn't say it's climax because we don't see a lot of plants or shrubs underneath that canopy, but maybe. But like I said, we don't know what led to that initial forest, so we can't determine if that is primary or secondary succession. All right, number 2. The number of rhinoceroses has decreased to near extinction. They're almost extinct. How are rhinoceroses classified under the Endangered Species Act? Okay, A or B, A or B, A or B? A and B? It could only be one. All right, well, they're not extinct, so it can't be C, they're still living. Pioneer species are species that come in after succession. AAA. So let's talk about threatened versus endangered. Threatened means you're really close to becoming endangered. Endangered means you're really close to becoming extinct, and extinct means you're just dead. So in this case, the correct answer would be A, because they are in danger of what? They're endangered. They're in danger of becoming extinct, dying out. Yes, awesome, Sierra. Good, Cody. Good, Victoria. Awesome, Ty. Terry, yeah, nice. All right. So raise your hand in our chat if you have downloaded this article on orangutans. One, two, 3 people. All right, if you have downloaded it, can you go ahead and type in chat how to find it for those of us who haven't done that yet? Files, yes, files in our Canvas page. So I'm just going to show you guys where that is really quickly, okay? I'm just going to show that really quickly to those of you who are having difficulty. All right, so everyone should be able to see my screen right now. Let's pull it over here. Environmental science. All right. Go to your student view. Okay, so we go down to files. Yes, files right here. Click on the files. Which folder should I use? Probably this week, correct? Today's the 5th, so it's the week of the 3rd through the 6th. Yep, one for today. And we have 2 files here for today. We have the changes in ecosystem. This is our guided notes. You'll need this for today. We did the first one on Tuesday, kind of review, and then we're going to be working on this one today. These are guided notes. They are not necessary for you to fill out, but they're going to help you kind of steer your learning as you work through the modules. So always go ahead and download the notes so you can have those to work through. All right, and what we're learning what we're going to be focusing on right now is the orangutan population decline. So you can open this article. Can everyone see? Can everyone see it, or did the screen share fail? Yes, you can see it? Okay, awesome. Okay, so you can either read it right here, or you can download it by clicking this download button, or you can just click on these 3 little dots, just hover over it, click on the 3 dots, and click on download. All right, class, I'm gonna give you 10 minutes to work on this. Once you finish it, go ahead and raise your hand or give me a thumbs up. Make sure to take a little quiz, and then I will put you into a breakout room where you'll be able to move on to the next part of today's lesson, okay? All right, give me a thumbs up when you are done. Yeah, so there are lots of reasons that the orangutan's habitat was being destroyed, and that, of course, caused or helped cause their destruction. Hunters were killing them. Farmers were killing them. Poaching. What is poaching, Elliot? Why were the orangutans getting poached? Farmers were killing them to protect their food. For that fear? For their hide? Okay. Okay. Cody said palm oil. Cody, what do you mean by palm oil and crops? Oh, yes. They were poaching them for their babies, right? They were taking their babies and selling them to different places, right? They wanted them as pets. Perhaps they were selling them to zoos. Okay, there's sap from the acacia trees. Yeah, so there were a lot of different things that were contributing to the loss of these orangutans. There was deforestation, there was hunting, there was poaching. The hunting was for meat. The poaching was for their skins, their fur, as well as to sell the young orangutans. Farmers thought that the orangutans were coming out. Well, the orangutans were coming onto the farmer's land because, number one, their habitat was being destroyed, and thus their food source was gone. So they were coming into those farmlands to get food. Now, why were the trees? Why was the rainforest getting cut down? It was so that plantations could be run. I believe that we talked about the plantations. Let's see. You said that there were those palm oil trees. We had a monoculture of palm oil trees, right? We had these plantations where it was just these trees, just these palm oil trees. And, well, why were people doing that? What's so great about the palm oil tree, and is it better than the rainforest? It's used for a lot of stuff. Awesome. Yeah. We can utilize the palm oil trees. It's used in many things, right? It's used In what? What are some things that they use palm oil for? Lip gloss, food, snacks, candy. Your favorite brand of lip gloss is, oh no, you're contributing to the destruction of these animals' habitat. Here, let's see if I am. So I have two things here. I have my chips, my favorite brand of chips that I like to eat, kettle chips. And let's look at the ingredients. Let's see. The ingredients are potatoes, safflower oil, and/or sunflower oil, and/or canola oil, and sea salt. So thankfully, none of that's palm oil. So eating these chips is not leading to the destruction of these animals. Let's check out my favorite chapsticks, Burt's Beeswax. Check out the ingredients here. Beeswax, coconut oil, sunflower seed oil, peppermint oil, lanolin, tocopherols, rosemary leaf extract, soybean oil, and canola oil. Whew. Oh, sorry. There. So luckily for me, with these two products, I'm not contributing to the loss of the orangutan's habitat. But there might be more things. Do I always check my products to make sure they don't have palm oil in them? Not always. I do like to check the ingredients. I like to be a conscientious consumer. Are you? How are your actions affecting the orangutans? Doesn't even matter? Hold on, I see some of you guys are sending me messages. All right, guys, welcome back, Bradley. All right, so let's check out what you guys have been saying. If you don't buy it, someone else will, so it's not like you're saving them by not buying it. That's a pretty bleak way to look at things, Ty. Right? If you buy it, then it does increase demand, like Cody said. Right? So every little bit helps, and the more people that are conscientious, then the better it is. Right? The better it is for these orangutans. And what about the people that actually live in Borneo? What's happening to their rainforests? Well, they're getting destroyed, right? They're having these monocultures of palm oil plantations and acacia tree plantations, and a lot of the biodiversity is getting destroyed. Just like the Amazon. And just like the Amazon rainforest, there are a lot of medicinal medicines and remedies that are derived from the plants and animals living there. And when you destroy that incredible biodiversity and you replace it with a monoculture of palm oil plantations, then that not only hurts all the animals and the plants, but it actually hurts us too, right? We don't have access to that resource anymore. We don't have, rainforests are really great about cleaning water. They're a great source of fresh air. And it might not impact us that much, but we're not actually living in Borneo. Think about the people that live there. Yeah, everything that we do has a big impact, whether you see it or not. And you have to be knowledgeable of these things. You have to understand that there's a lot you don't know and try and reach out and increase your knowledge of these things. Otherwise, before you know it, like Ty said, it's going to be gone before you know it. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right. We're going to move on. I see you typing something, Sierra. But while you're doing that, I'd like you guys to go to our modules. That's fine, Sierra. You can type it out. You can send me a private chat, a private message, okay? I'd like everyone to go to our population size, vocabulary, and direct instruction. Use those guided notes. Guided notes. That'll help you guys as you work your way through this, okay? It should take about 20 minutes. When you're done, what should you do? Come back and give me a thumbs up. Awesome. Yeah. So you're almost finished already? Awesome. All right, guys, I'll let you get to it. I'll put 20 minutes on the timer, and I'll see you shortly. If you have any questions, just shoot me a message, okay? Okay, class, we're going to bring back everyone. There we go. All right. All right, so hopefully everyone was able to finish that, those first two modules. And you should be able to help me answer some of these questions. So let's read this first question. Migration is what? What is migration? Is it the movement of organisms from a native location to a foreign location? Or from a foreign location to a native location? Or is it movement of organisms from their water supply to their food supply? Or is it a seasonal movement of organisms between two different locations? Okay, some people say A, some people are saying D. D is your final answer. Why is it D? So Terry says seasonal movement. Victoria, Jason, Billy, Elliot, Angel, Emma, I'll say D. Why are they saying D? Both places are not foreign. Well, they move back and forth between them, right? What are some animals that migrate? It's always seasonal. Geese move north and south. Butterflies, monarch butterflies, yes. Birds, ducks. Why do organisms typically migrate? It's an adaptation for wintertime, right? So is it because they get cold? Is that why they go to warmer places? Jason says food and temperature. We talked about this. It's not actually to avoid cold, right? You know, there are bears that live in in mountains and forests, and in the wintertime, they don't migrate. What do? They hibernate. They hibernate because there's a lot less food in the area. Other animals, like birds and butterflies, they migrate to follow their food source. To follow their food source. Can you think of any other marine animals Marine mammals that might migrate? Whales. Yeah, whales. Salmon. Yeah, salmon, I guess they migrate to go spawn. Awesome. Yeah, great, guys. Does anyone disagree? Can anyone think of sharks? From Antarctica to the, oh yeah, yep. Awesome, guys. All right, let's move on to number 2. Lions live in groups called prides. Lion populations would most likely fall in which category of population distribution? Are they evenly distributed, randomly distributed, clumped, or density? So Harley says C. Clumped, Emma, okay. And does anyone else want to chime in? Samuel says D, it's density. Or C, not quite sure, maybe. Jason says C. Seems like we have a bit of a consensus that it's C. Well, it wouldn't be density, because density just talks about how closely a population is dispersed. Well, let's take a look at these. What is even distribution? We have about 10 minutes left in class. I want to finish some of this. What is even distribution? Spread out evenly, yeah, exactly. Typically, we see populations of organisms that are spread out evenly. Excuse me. Typically when they're territorial. For instance, a lot of the big cats, panthers, bobcats, things like that, they have a territory. Snow leopards, they have a territory that they mark usually with their urine. And they have a vast, large space of land where they hunt, and they're spread out throughout the landscape, pretty evenly. They each have their own little territory that they live on. Random is typically seen in organisms that they don't have a set land, a set territory. They kind of move all over the place, seemingly at random, like insects, or maybe different types of rodents. Now, some rodents are pretty territorial. They have like a tree they like to live in, like squirrels. And then clumped. Why are you saying clumped? Why is this group of prides clumped? What is clumped distribution? Clumped is together in groups and close. Yeah, like a group, exactly. Can you think of any other cats, any other members of the cat family that form groups, that form family groups like this pride of lions? Do tigers form family groups? I always thought tigers are pretty solitary. Well, hippos, yeah, but hippos aren't a cat, Maya. But you're right. Hippos do form groups. Awesome. No, that's fine. That's fine. Cheetahs. I think cheetahs are actually they're pretty solitary. You might find a mother raising 1 or 2 cubs for the first, I believe it's 2 years of their life. Awesome, Bradley. Hyenas. Yeah, but hyenas aren't cats. Pumas, yeah, they're cats, but no, actually cats are all solitary except for lions. They actually evolved to have this adaptation to live in a family. It's only lions. Can you think of any other animals that live in these groups? It wasn't a trick question. I didn't say what others. I said, can you think of any others? Wolves, monkeys, yeah, all primates. Yeah, other mammals or other, yeah, fish, Birds, yeah, there's a lot of fish live together. Humans, yeah, humans. Elephants, for sure. Dolphins, yeah, all those social animals. Beavers, it's called a family. Moose, I don't know. Do moose live in? I guess they live in pretty big herds, don't they? Same with deer. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think we have a pretty good idea. Any questions before we move on? No? No? Okay. Prairie dogs? Yep. Exactly, Cody. They live in groups too. They have a clumped population distribution. Chickens? I don't know if there are many wild chickens, but I guess chickens are forced to live in the same area, right? By human farmers. I don't know, Sierra. I don't know. It's just an adaptation. Okay, class. Your homework tonight, and you can get started on it right now, is you can work on the vocabulary and direct instruction for determining population size. But Sierra shared something with me earlier, and if you want to go ahead and have a discussion about this, if you want to stick around, we're going to talk about it a little bit, okay? All right, so let's pull up what. Okay, so Sierra, here. Sierra asked me this question, or she told me this statement. She wished that bigger corporations don't make a lot of differences. Like earlier when we were talking about being a conscientious consumer and buying or decreasing the amount of things that you buy that have palm oil in it, to try and prevent the destruction of these rainforests and the habitats of the animals that live there. It's really important, not just for you and I to do it, but it's important for corporations to do this as well, right? Corporations are big, they're powerful, and not all the time, but most of the time, unless they get caught doing something wrong, or unless they have, some sort of restrictions placed on them and their practices, they're going to try and get away with what they want, because they want to sell things, make money, right? That's what they do. Can you think of anything, any corporations that have done something to negatively hurt the environment or to negatively impact the environment? Any company that makes straws, plastic straws? Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, depending on how on the pollution of that, but it's typically the consumers, the people that either throw away those straws or use them. There's a lot of packaging for sure, but how are we taking care of that waste? Are we recycling it? Are we reusing it? Some are recyclable. Nuclear. Oh yeah. Um, Nuclear power is a great clean energy. Unfortunately, we don't reuse the waste. We don't reuse that nuclear waste. We have 2 minutes until class ends. We can actually convert the nuclear waste into more energy to run a different type of power plant. But we don't do that, unfortunately. Our practices is to seal it and then put it in a cave in Arizona. Unfortunately, they can be recycled. That waste can be recycled pretty easily. We just don't do it. To save money, people aren't making a fuss about it. They don't care, so they're not putting pressure on our government, and so the government isn't putting pressure on these companies. Right? It takes a lot of effort to do this, and unless we all do it together as a society, it's just not going to happen. Because people in power, they just don't care. Now, some people do. Some companies do. And that's why it's really important for us to be aware of these issues and then elect officials that will create laws to protect our society, to protect the citizenship here in America. And it's also very important, if your official isn't doing that, to call them up. But all right, class. Class is over now. Class is over. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. If anyone wants to hang out and continue talking, I can do it for about 5 minutes, but then I have to make some ILP calls. Have a great day, guys. Goodbye.